This is Dave Thompson, welcoming you to another very special edition of Pirate Radio Cleopatra, where we're thrilled to be joined by Paul Rudolph, a member not only of three of my all-time favourite bands, the Deviants, Hawkwind and, in between times, the Pink Fairies, but also a contributor to some of my favourite albums as well, Robert Calvert's Captain Lockheed and Lucky Leaf, and Eno's Here Come the Warm Jets and Taking Tiger Mountain by Strategy. Now he's back with the Fairies, whose third album since their 2017 reunion, Covered in Pink, has got 2026 off to the most explosive start you could hope for. It's a collection of extraordinarily well-chosen covers, and Paul's here to talk us through a few of them, and to reflect too upon past Fairies' triumphs, and other stories. We opened the show with the current lineup's remake of Do It, the first single from Covered in Pink, and, back in 1971, the original Pink Fairies' first single too. It's probably also the band's best-known song, and live, their best loved. Here Paul recalls its birth back in 1970 or so.
Do It, and that's an interesting one because I think it's interesting anyway, because Twink and I wrote the song when I was sharing a basement flat with him on Bassett Road in London. And we were kind of fiddling around one evening with my acoustic guitar, and, within about 10 minutes, we had it. We had the riff down, and then Twink fine-tuned the lyrics, and that was it.
Which is how the best songs often come about.
Absolutely. And one of the, I think one of the nice things about the band was that most of the Pink Fairies songs actually came from riffs that happened in rehearsals. And we decided from day one that everybody in the band would contribute equally to all the money that came in, which wasn't a lot of money, but still, I think it promoted a good feeling of camaraderie, and the fact that, we're all equal regardless of who writes the songs, and et cetera, et cetera.
The original Fairies broke up in 1973, leaving three albums behind them. Never Neverland, recorded with original drummer Twink, What a Bunch of Sweeties, and following Paul's departure and the arrival of Larry Wallace, Kings of Oblivion. Since that time, there's been numerous reunions and occasional new recordings. So here's Paul explaining how this latest lineup, also featuring former Hawkwind bassist Alan Davey, came about.
This is when I was living right in downtown Victoria, and I was still married, which I'm not anymore. But I was in my studio one night, and the phone rang. I picked the phone up and went, hello? And this voice goes, hey, you're going to let us in? And I said, who's this? He said, it's Nick Turner. I said, really? Where are you? He said, I'm outside your place in Los Angeles. I said, I'm in Victoria, BC. He says, oh, he said, I meant to be dialing Lemmy's son, Paul, who's putting us up for the night. And so we had a little chat. And Nick said, by the way, he said, I'm doing lots of stuff with Cleopatra Records. He said, you may want to get a hold of them if you feel like doing anything. And then it was probably a month or so after that, I got an email from John Lappin saying, are you interested in doing anything? And I said, yeah, well, what are you thinking of? And that's where it all started. But I thought, well, nobody else is using it.
Nope.
Basically Russell had retired the band because he couldn't play anymore because of his COPD.
Right.
And I thought, well, I'll just do it. That was, part of our original agreement was any of the original members can use the name. And I wanted to kind of, at least put a stake in the ground, as it were, because I thought, after the hearing about the fiasco between Nick and Dave trying to trademark the Hawkwind name, I thought I'll put my stake in the ground so Twink can't. I think Matt Green arranged it all. He mentioned Alan, and I thought, oh, wow, I thought Alan must be a really great bloke if he's lasted 20 years in Hawkwind. So, and Lucas I hadn't met. And so they arranged for us to go to Austin to record, which was sort of fun, but it didn't turn out that well because Larry was supposed to come. And we were going to basically just, Larry's a great songwriter and singer, but we only found out a few days before he wasn't coming. So we basically met up at the motel in Austin. And then basically, it's sort of jammed the numbers in the session. So it turned out okay. It was great meeting those two guys. It was good.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I'll give it credit. It was live.
Yeah.
As opposed to a studio album.
That was Resident Reptile from the album of the same name. It was followed in 2023 by Screwed Up, which we'll get to later. First, though, let's hear some more about Covered in Pink.
Well, yeah, it's totally. I think it's basically me and Alan,
Right.
and a couple of other people that put a couple of cherries on the cake on a few tracks. But basically, Alan and I, work really well together, and we both have our, home recording, and we just do it, and not worried about audio perfection.
Right.
I mean, it sounds great, but it's got lots of life.
American woman, mama, let me be.
That was American Woman, originally by the Guess Who, but totally fairified for Covered in Pink. And next up we'll hear another of the album's highlights, Rosalind, a 1964 hit for the Pretty Things. And, as Paul explains, that band has its own dynamic place in the Fairies story.
Well, the Pink Fairies used to do a lot of gigs with the Pretty Things. And the gigs we did with the Pretty Things and or Hawkwind, there was one night when there was Pretty Things, Hawkwind, and Pink Fairies on the bill.
Wow.
And I forget who was the last band on, but the audience was treated to all three bands on stage at the same time. Complete madness. But they were a great rock band. And, I had never actually listened to Rosalind until I got sent the backing track.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, now I see why they were next to the Stones in the early days. They were really rocking it out. And when I heard the backing track and listened to all the different parts, I dragged out my 1958 Fender lap steel guitar and used that. I think it turned out really rocking.
Aside from their 3 studio albums, the original Fairies are also remembered on Fuzz Freakout, featuring a clutch of live cuts recorded in Finland in 1971, and also an early BBC radio session. Here's Paul then, remembering the show.
We flew into Malmo, Sweden, went to the gig. It was interesting. The headliner was the Canned Heat, but Pink Fairies preceded the Canned Heat. I'm a big fan of the Canned Heat, but we played a boogie number and we basically blew them off the stage. It was wild.
Great version of The Snake from that album, which I think is my favorite Fairies track.
Well, I don't know if you've heard it, but there's also The Snake and Do It and a couple other numbers um, were recorded for the John Peel show.
Yes.
And those are good memorable recordings too.
side. Oh, here comes that snake. Here comes that snake. Oh, watch him, here he comes. Here comes that snake. Oh, watch him, here he comes.
That was The Snake, the B-side of the original Do It single, recorded there for BBC DJ John Peel's Top Gear broadcast. No less than today, however, the Fairies also had a wide and varied repertoire of favoured covers, among them Little Richard's Lucille, The Ventures' Walk Don't Run, and coming up next, The Beatles' Tomorrow Never Knows. So here's Paul not only talking about that song, but also his own personal connection to Paul McCartney, or at least to one of Paul McCartney's bass guitars.
I just loved the, I like a lot of the Beatles stuff anyway. I particularly like that song because it just had such a kind of heavy intro and, of course, reminded me of the some of the Lysergic times. And it worked out really good live. Well, interestingly enough, I was contacted about a year ago by two investigative journalists in London who started a project called the Lost Bass Project to find out, they wanted to find Paul McCartney's stolen bass. I happened to live above the roadies for Wings when the bass was stolen, and they were good friends of mine. Anyway, the investigative journalists actually have a book coming out about the whole thing. They actually found the bass and got it returned to Paul McCartney. And then I got contacted in the summer by one of the producers from a film company in London called Passion Pictures. They're doing a movie about the whole thing. And they flew the producer out here from London, and his sound guy who lived in New York showed up, and they filmed me for 2 days to be in the movie about the Lost Bass Project.
And you were simply the neighbour of the roadies.
I was the neighbor of the roadies, and the night Paul McCartney's bass got stolen, usually the van was parked outside of the house we had on Lancaster Road. But there was no parking one night, so they parked at about a block away outside a basement flat where a lot of the other Pink Fairies and a bunch of other people lived, and that's where the bass was stolen. So there's all these sort of ties, and I don't know, somehow they thought I was interesting enough to put in the movie.
Don't all feel mine, relax and float down the street. It is no dying, it is no dying. And you will learn from me up with. It is shining, it is shining. And when you're around, it's what you have to do. It is believing, it is believing. All love is on, I lost the feeling. Although the beginning, the end of the beginning, the end of the beginning I want. At the end of the beginning.
That was Tomorrow Never Knows from Fuzz Freakout, and the Fairies weren't the only band wrapping fresh sonic landscapes around that song during the 70s. A few years later, Eno led the semi-supergroup 801 through their own take on TNK, as they called it. And that's relevant, of course, because Paul not only worked with Eno across his first 4 albums, but also because Covered in Pink hosts its own version of a song from the first of those 4, Here Come the Warm Jets. And that's coming up in a moment, but first, here's Paul to set the stage.
Yeah, I played bass guitar and drums on Here Come the Warm Jets. It's his first 4 albums I played on.
Is that why you picked Babies on Fire for the new album?
Actually, the Cleopatra gave Alan and I a list of about 15 songs we could choose from that they thought would be good. And so we did a list. Babies on Fire was on there. And I thought, oh, this could be good. Let's kind of pump it up, So we, thanks to Alan's excellent thumping bass playing, and I added some chunky guitar and some weird ring modulator guitar. I just thought it would be good to do.
Yeah, it's a great version.
Baby's on fire, better throw her in the water. Look at her laughing, like a heifer to the slaughter. Baby's on fire, I know the laughing boys are bitching, waiting for photos. Oh, the plot is so bewitching.
That was Babies on Fire from the new Pink Fairies album Covered in Pink. But we're sticking with the Fairies' live prowess for a few minutes more because, as Paul will tell us, it was in concert that the Fairies really hit their stride.
Yeah, and I think Polydor really missed the boat when they didn't record us live.
Yeah.
They didn't want us to record live because they said, well, it's not a controlled situation. Well, of course, we were a little wild, but the live stuff was where all the magic was, as far as I'm concerned.
And your side on the Glastonbury album, was it Do It and Uncle Harry, which just goes on forever?
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I actually heard you. I was a big Bowie and Boland fan, and I bought the Glastonbury Fair album because, unreleased songs. Ooh. And of course, you have to play through the rest of the triple album. I didn't play the Dead side, it was horrible. But I got to the Fairies side, and it was like, bloody hell, why have I never heard this band before? And then there was Out Demons Out, I think, on the other side. And it's like, oh, this is the best record ever.
No, the band live, I think the band live, excuse me, was every gig was different. And the band, we were actually playing, we weren't just going through songs. Every night was different.
And we'd like to leave you with our world-renowned rendition of that old rock and roll classic, Walk, Don't Run. And love and peace to you all. Thank you very much.
We faded that a little, but that was Walk Don't Run, also from Fuzz Freakout, while there's more Primal Live Fairies up on YouTube if you really want to take a deep dive into the subject. And you should, you really should. In particular, look out for the 2 songs recorded at the 1971 Glastonbury Festival, which leads us neatly into one of Paul's most unexpected recent excursions, which in turn became one of his most fabulous. You may remember Melanie best for riding her bicycle past your window one night, but there was an awful lot more to her than that. Indeed, in the early 1970s, she was as much a part of the hippie underground as the fairies themselves, particularly in the UK. Her first British concert saw her opening for Mark Bolan's Tyrannosaurus Rex. She jammed with Yes, and she was a star of the 1970 Isle of Wight Festival. The following year she headlined Glastonbury, alongside the fairies, and if you can get your hands on the latest issue of Record Collector magazine, you can read all about it. So from one Glastonbury 71 veteran to another, here's Paul to introduce Some Say I Got Devil.
What an awesome voice. When Cleopatra sent me the basic track to put guitar on, originally I thought I wasn't actually that familiar with Melanie other than, her Woodstock and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I listened to it and I thought, I hope they don't expect me to put psychedelic crashing guitar on here, because her vocals and the sound of her voice just froze me. It made my hair stand up on my arms. I thought, oh my God, this is timeless.
Yeah.
And so the guitar I did on it, I wanted to basically complement what she was doing as much as I could and just kind of stay at the back of the stage, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I love that song.
Some say I got devil, some say I got angel, but I'm just this girl in trouble. I don't think I'm in danger, don't think I
Paul left the Fairies in 1972 and moved into session work with Eno, of course, and also with Hawkwind's Robert Calvert, which means it was no surprise when, in 1975, he was invited to replace Lemmy in Hawkwind.
Well, it was kind of weird because I had come back from an afternoon bike ride. I was living in Shepherd's Bush. The phone rang and it was Doug Smith. And he said, "What are you doing lately?" I said, "No, not a lot, hanging out." He said, "How would you like to go to the States tomorrow? You know, the Hawkwind has just fired Lemmy and they need someone to do the US tour." So the next day I flew out with my bass. And, you know, it's funny because Lemmy was a good friend of mine.
Right.
You know, I liked his bass playing. And there was, you know, kind of a animosity / question mark from a few people in the band, thinking that I had somehow usurped Lemmy. But, you know, when I look back on the whole thing, I was listening, you know, I've got a few sort of not that great recordings, but there's one of Hawkwind up north doing a gig. And I was very, very pleased with my bass playing because it was just driving everything along,
Yeah.
like a bass player should. And I thought, you know, I'm not better than Lemmy. I'm not worse than Lemmy. We just have slightly different styles. I mean, Lemmy worked really well in that band because he was such a character. And I could easily see why he left, because I can imagine Dave Brock was making things difficult for him because Dave wanted to be the man.
Paul made just one album with Hawkwind, 1976's Astounding Sounds, Amazing Music, which, depending upon which side of the Horsehead Nebula you woke up on this morning, is either one of their most brilliant, diverse and experimental releases, or one of their most scattershot and ultimately disappointing. Either way, it's a long way from Brainstorm to the aubergine that ate Rangoon. Paul, unsurprisingly, falls on the first side of the equation.
I still listen to it, and I actually like it a lot.
Yeah.
I think, you know, a lot of people didn't like it because they wanted to hear the same, you know, the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it was such an interesting recording session because everybody in the band had different ideas that they wanted to put forward. Dave Brock tried to squash the whole thing. But when Dave Gilmore, who was producing it, heard some of the ideas, he says, wait a minute. These guys have got some valid stuff going on. Let's at least give it a try. And, you know, some of the stuff on there, I think, was really, really good.
So,
yeah. Well, Bob was so good at what he did.
yeah. You played on his solo albums, didn't you?
Yeah, both of them. That was kind of one of the highlights of my career in London, was doing, I think we were doing Lucky Leaf and the Longships, recording at Air Studios. And in the control room at the same time, Brian Eno was producing, Arthur Brown was singing, George Martin happened to drop in, and he thought, wow, you guys are really doing some weird stuff here. He hung around for the whole session.
Wow.
And I thought, how cool is that?
That was Hawkwind's Hassan Isaba, covered by the Fairies on 2023's Screwed Up album, which was titled for and also included a song that Paul wrote with his old Deviants bandmate Mick Farron in 1977 for the Screwed Up EP on Stiff Records. Find a copy, it is amazing.
Mick wanted to do a recording. He had the lyrics. He had some studio time, and he'd already contacted Larry to do the producing.
Yep.
And so we basically went into the studio. I don't remember which one. But we went into the studio and basically wrote the thing on the spot. Mick had the lyrics. I just came up with some riffs on the spot, and I think it turned out really well. I remember riding my racing bike to the session, and it was kind of memorable because I got there as a few of the other people were arriving, and I showed up and I had me bicycle tights on, and et cetera, et cetera. Everybody's going, "What the heck?"
I'm sitting here screwed up. I can't get out of the chair. The time operator, no joke. She always gets you there with the third stroke. Screwed up. I turn on the TV, screwed up. And what I see, glorification of getting free. Fairy Fuzz and just come and rescue me. Screwed up. And I'm a danger to myself. Screwed up. And I can ruin my health, screwed up. I'm so brought down. I'm still smiling when there's no one else around, screwed up. And I'm scratching at my skin, screwed up. As my nails dig in, think I'll take some pills and go to bed. I might get lucky and wind up dead. Screwed up. Screwed up. Turn on the TV, screwed up. And what I see, glorification of getting free. Fairy Fawcett Nature's come and rescue me, screwed up. And I'm a danger to myself, screwed up. I can ruin my health, screwed up. I'm so brought down. I'm still smiling when there's no one else around, screwed up. And I'm scratching up my skin, screwed up. As my nails dig in, think I'll take some pills, go to bed. I might get lucky and wind up dead. Screwed up. Screwed up. Danger to myself. I'm a 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 danger to myself. Screwed
And that's more or less it for this show, but before we go, we have to ask, what of Lemmy? Well, he'd gone on to Motörhead, and years later, Paul's current Fairies bandmate and fellow Hawkwind alumni Alan Davey formed what even Lemmy reckoned was the best Motörhead tribute band of them all, Ace of Spades. Indeed, Alan credits Lemmy's bass playing with Hawkwind as the impetus for him picking up the instrument in the first place, and now all those disparate threads come together as the Pink Fairies take on Motörhead's anthemic Motörhead, with guest vocals by yet another sometime Hawkwind friend, poet and author Michael Moorcock, and sax by, you guessed it, Nick Turner. So here's Paul to recall his own first exposure to Motörhead, and we're going to play out, of course, with the Fairies and their latest exposure, Motörhead. I hope you enjoyed the show, and Pirate Radio Cleopatra will be back in a few weeks with Lady Crow and a whole new episode. Until then, goodbye.
You know, Motörhead certainly sticks in my mind because I've actually jammed with Mike Moorcock at his place in London, and he was always around at the Hawkwind gigs. But until I heard Alan's mix of that song, I never realized what a great singer Mike Moorcock was. Like, he could have got on stage with Motörhead.